Funding for the production of Louisiana, the state we're in, is provided in part by the Ziegler Foundation of Jennings and Gulf States Utilities, helping Louisiana bridge the gap to our energy future.
Edwin Edwards bows out of the runoff race for governor.
And I have determined that under the circumstances, since I did not run first, that it would be inappropriate for me to continue this election.
And Buddy Roemer proclaims victory.
I just talked to the governor on the telephone and told him how pleased I was and surprised. Told him I thought he did it with a lot of class.
Tonight on Louisiana, the state we're in, a look back at the political events of the past week and how Louisiana is preparing for the Roemer Revolution. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Louisiana, the state we're in. I'm Rob Hinton. What a week it has been in Louisiana politics. Definitely one for the history books and one full of surprises. Last week this time, mostly everyone who has anything to say about politics here in Louisiana was predicting a runoff election in the race for governor. A runoff between the incumbent Edwin Edwards and one of his four major challengers. Little did anyone know that the dark horse of the pack, Congressman Buddy Roemer, would capture 33% of the vote, followed by Edwards with 29%. Now, throughout the evening last Saturday, election night, it became clear that the runoff for governor had boiled down to a contest between Roemer and Edwards. But early Sunday morning, Edwin Edwards, Louisiana governor for 12 of the past 16 years, conceded the race to Roemer. Tonight, a look back at the events of the past week, beginning with the Roemer campaign, election night. Buddy Roemer supporters gathered in Shreveport election night to be with their candidate. When it became apparent that Roemer was headed for the runoff, the candidate kissed his wife, Patty, thanked his many supporters for their help, and asked for their continued support.
The revolution is not over. It's just begun. We have the need. We have a need in this state for more revolutionaries. We have a need tonight for the people who chose someone else tonight to get ready to wake up in the morning and join hands. We'll do it together. Let's go. I want to say that a lot of people wondered for a long time what this election was about. I can say it in a simple, single word. It was about change.
Roemer told his crowd of supporters that the big winner from his first place finish was Louisiana.
I love you for your effort. I feel good about what we've done. And tonight I'm really humble and very thankful to the good Lord and to you. But I'll tell you this. The harder we work, the luckier we get. The more we stick together, the stronger we'll be. Let's finish this job and turn this state as high as it's ever been turned. Louisiana wins tonight.
Meanwhile, for candidate Billy Tauzin in New Orleans, it was a disappointing fourth-place finish. The Thibodeau congressman thanked his supporters and congratulated his North Louisiana colleague.
I want to first congratulate my good friend and colleague in Congress, Buddy Roemer, for an extraordinary October. We ought to give him a big hand for an incredible October campaign. Please join me with it. There were several times in this campaign when it could have broken for us. It was so close. It could have broken our way, and instead it broke his way. To his great credit, he did an excellent job of organizing this final month, and in fact putting it together in a way that I think has astounded the folks here in Louisiana.
Tauzin took his time before the television cameras to announce his candidacy for re-election to Congress, citing the new governor's need for good people in Washington.
When we get through with this election, the next governor will need the members of Congress as part of his team in making sure that this state gets everything it deserves out of Washington, D.C., and that our people prosper again. I'll be on that team in Washington, D.C. I'll be working hand in hand with the next governor to make sure that our lives are bettered, that our children get well educated, we clean up this environment, that Louisiana has a better politics and a better government, that we have indeed a government as good as our people, and that we have a reputation that reflects the great character of our people.
For Bob Livingston, who throughout the campaign ran second to Edwards in public opinion polls, it was a third-place finish.
Folks, we wanted to win, but it appears from the polls right now that we're running third. Our own figures would confirm that. We would expect to run a nice, close third. That's good in horseshoes, as they say. But in elections, when you're looking for a two-person spot, I don't think it's quite good enough.
Livingston then went on to endorse Buddy Roemer in the runoff.
So Buddy, I wish you well. I want to extend my wholehearted support to you and endorse you and wish you the best of luck. I'll do whatever I can to make you the next governor of Louisiana. But I'll hold your feet to the fire because I want you to remember your promises to clean up our government, to put our people to work.
Livingston promised to work with Roemer to help Louisiana. And before throwing in the towel once and for all, the Metairie congressman pulled out the harmonica that has been his trademark throughout the campaign.
We're going to bring the sunshine back to Louisiana, but we're going to have the help of Buddy Roemer. And we got to help Buddy Roemer bring the sunshine back. Are you ready?
Well, the sun wasn't shining early Sunday morning when supporters for Edwin Edwards heard from their candidate. Many of them were looking forward to a runoff, but what they heard from a very grim-faced Edwards caught them by surprise. Edwards received an enthusiastic round of applause and cheers upon entering the room where his supporters had gathered. He then thanked his family and supporters for sticking by him throughout his many campaigns.
First, I want to thank my wife and my children and their spouses for their steadfast and loyal support, not only in this campaign, but in the 16 others. Second, I want to thank you and all of you who supported me, not only in this campaign, but in 16 others. So many volunteers, so many people putting your hearts and souls into this campaign. Third, I want to congratulate those people in the legislation and statewide levels who have sought public office and have won. I wish them well. Then I want to express my appreciation to the other candidates. I cannot truthfully say that they were nice to me. Fair. But in politics and love, all is fair. And I've had more than my share of good things and important things. And I wish all of them success in whatever endeavors they may find themselves. I forgive them. I forgive them for things that were said. And I forgive people who voted for them for things that were said. There isn't a person in this state who is more honorable and honest than I am. Yet I know that many who are listening to me and viewing me simply cannot embrace that as an idea. I know that many, many people in Louisiana have already come to the conclusion that they simply do not trust me. I think my opponents and the press capitalized on that, and I understand it because that's politics. But I want you to know, if it is the last thing that I ever say to you, and the last time you ever hear my voice or look into my eyes, that there's no reason to believe it. It simply is not so. I guess maybe for a long time I was kind of cavalier about it, knowing that in the long run truth does come out and truth will suffice. And I really never worried about that until this election, when I realized for the first time how many people were bothered by that. And to them, to those rather who embraced that conclusion, I say I forgive you and I understand why. And I hope that as the years unfold, you will in some way find it in your heart to reassess your views of me.
The three-term governor told the crowd that he was very much like Roemer back in 1971.
I watched young Buddy Roemer this evening in a number of appearances and heard him during the campaign on a number of occasions. And he sounded so much as I did in 1971, when I was about his age, when I was a member of Congress, when I had never been in any kind of controversy, when I came on the scene fresh and new and different, and said almost in the same evangelical way the things that he has been saying. And I, too, captured the imagination of the people of this state. I wonder what's going to happen to him. I hope that the people of this state and the media of this state do not rush to judgment as they look at him, because you see, none of us paid any attention to him. He was the fifth running candidate for a long time, and we never assumed that he was a person that we needed to look at. My friends who were running against me never did realize during this long campaign that I wasn't the enemy, that in order to beat me, each would have to make the runoff. And so he kind of got by scot-free. But I wish him well, and I want him to succeed. I have determined, being the politician that I am, and I like to say that if there's one thing that even those who dislike me the most will agree, I have had some experience in the political world in this state, and I know the people of this state. And I have determined that under the circumstances, since I did not run first, that it would be inappropriate for me to continue this election. Please hear me out. Please hear me out. Please hear me out. I have to do what I think is best for my state. I don't want it further divided. There's never been a time in modern history when the combined efforts of the media has been so bent and dedicated on taking over the governor's office. I underestimated them, and I tip my hat to them.
And he asked his supporters not to cry for him.
Let me say, please do not weep for me. The person who is going to have the burdens of this state for the next 4 years is going to need all of your support and all of your efforts. And believe me, I don't envy him. I know better than anybody, and I think he doesn't know at all what it is he is facing. So I'm going to pledge to him now the full support and cooperation of my office and of myself. He may have the capital if he wishes it now. If he wishes me to call a special session of this legislature or the next, I'll be pleased to do that. If there's anything that I can do to help him in the transition, our hearts and minds and hands will be open to him. I want nothing at all for the next 5 months except to serve my state and my people, in the hopes that those of you who, for reasons of your own, either through misinformation or misbelief or misunderstanding or simply because of long-standing dislikes, will know finally that in the last analysis, when I had to make a decision between my own best interest and that of my state, I chose the state. And I hope that you will afford me, especially those of you in the media, and the newspapers in particular, afford me an opportunity of spending the last 5 months of my public life in Louisiana doing the very best I can to work with the new governor in the hopes that things can continue to improve in Louisiana and make things better for all of us. But in an effort to help him, let me caution you. Don't expect the educational system to get better overnight. And don't expect tax reform to occur overnight. And don't expect all the things that have been talked about by the media and by the candidates to happen overnight. They will not. Try to be patient and try to be understanding. Try to be patient and try to be understanding. We have come a long way in 4 years, but we still have a long way to go. It's going to take all of us working together at every level of our lives and at every turn in every small town to work together to try to repair and heal this state. I don't want another North and South Louisiana confrontation. I don't want another Republican-Democrat. I just want Louisiana to get better. And whether you believe it or not, whether you believe it or not, the decision I made tonight is because I want Louisiana to get better. And I think that's the way that I can best accomplish those goals.
In Shreveport, Roemer campaign strategist Raymond Strother was a bit disappointed that the governor had conceded the election.
I'm pleased and a little sad, too, by the whole thing, you know.
Why sad?
Edwin Edwards, an era just ended, and all eras make you sad when things go, when things die.
So what about the new era?
Well, that's full of promise and hope. I'm happy about that.
To a tired Roemer, now the governor-elect, the news was surprising.
I just talked to the governor on the telephone and told him how pleased I was and surprised. Told him I thought he did it with a lot of class.
How do you feel?
Overwhelmed.
What does this mean now?
Well, I'm not sure yet in terms of timing or specific programs or actions. But I think it means a chance that Louisiana can heal much faster, much quicker. Amen. And it's not about him and me. It's not about victory or anything like that. It's about us. It's about our people. And, you know, that's why I ran. And I think that's why tonight he got out.
After a little sleep, the governor-elect once again talked to the press about his victory.
Louisiana decided last night that we had a chance to do it right, that we had a chance to get change the right way. You see, when I walked the state in January, February, March, April, and May, people said, "You're right, buddy, but you can't win." When I walked this state and gave 4,000 speeches, there were tears in the audience. People said, "You're right, buddy." I'd like to have a governor who didn't take the big checks, who didn't take the PAC money, who didn't take cash, who didn't have street organizations where money flowed like rain. I'd like to have a governor who didn't have to borrow $2 million to win. I'd like to have a governor who was free. They'd tell me that. Then they would say, "But I don't think you can win, buddy." This election last night was when people decided in the last 10 days he can win. And he doesn't have all the answers, but he's right on the most important answer of our time: change in our politics. That's what that election was about.
On Monday, the preparations for the changing of the guard began. In Baton Rouge, Governor Edwards named his campaign manager, George Fisher, to head his transition team. Lynn Sanderson is heading up the Roemer team. And in New Orleans, the governor-elect kept true a campaign promise, a promise to have his picture taken in a public school classroom.
How are y'all?
Roemer visited with some elementary school students at McDonough number 39, a largely black urban school. While there, he promised teachers smaller classrooms and students a brighter future. He also answered questions from students.
Why do you think Governor Edwin Edwards quit?
That's a good question, and he could probably answer that better. I think he was surprised that we got more votes than he did.
While in the Crescent City, the governor-elect met with New Orleans Mayor Sidney Barthelemy, telling the mayor that he needed New Orleans.
I want New Orleans to be part of the state. I want it badly. I want the rest of the state to know how important I believe New Orleans is to us. Now together, we're going to take off like a rocket. We're going to cooperate better, and I wanted Sidney to hear it directly from me.
Meanwhile, in Baton Rouge at the governor's mansion, Edwin Edwards met with members of his cabinet, thanking them for the work they had done and telling them that they were free to look for jobs immediately, even with the Roemer administration. Edwards then told reporters that he had no regrets about dropping out of the race and that he might seek the governor's office again in 4 years.
If he is a successful governor, acquits himself well, serves the people of this state, and it is obvious that the people want him for a second term, I will abide by that decision and make no waves and make no effort to upset that. That would be in his interest, the state's interest, and probably in my interest. If, on the other hand, it becomes apparent to me 2 or 3 years from now that he has fallen on his face, and I'm not suggesting that or predicting it, but if it becomes apparent to me, as it became apparent to me some years ago under the past governor, that this governor has not succeeded in reaching the goals that he has articulated, and that the people are looking for a new leader and new leadership, I'm going to take a look at it. I do not rule that out. It is neither a threat nor a promise. It is a response to a question. I repeat, I said 8 years ago as Dave Treen became governor, I hope he's successful. I wish him every success. I told legislators then, as I tell legislators now, and as I said Saturday night, one of the problems with Louisiana today is that you have too many legislators who think they're governors, and they have to get out of that. If they don't get out of that habit and that attitude, we're never going to have a successful state.
On Tuesday, the governor-elect met with his transition team, and afterwards he told reporters that he was happy with the way things are going.
It's only been 48 or 70 hours since this thing took place, and since that time, we put together the nucleus of a transition team. Since that time, we've talked to the leadership of the House and Senate. Since that time, we've been in a classroom. Since that time, we've met with the mayor of the largest city in the state, a city that's sometimes apart from the rest of the state and should not be. We've put a delegation meeting together in Washington. We're doing what has to be done. I'm tired, but I'm enthusiastic. I got 6 hours of sleep last night for the first time in a month, and I feel good.
On Wednesday, Roemer was back on Capitol Hill in Washington, where his colleagues congratulated him on his victory.
Congressman Roemer.
I want to thank the Speaker for yielding me time. I want to thank my colleague and yours, Jerry Huckabee, for the nice introduction. He gave it just like I wrote it, and I really appreciate it. I want to thank you for letting me come back one more time and being part of a place I really love and already miss. I want to thank my colleague, Billy Tauzin. He, too, ran a terrific race. It was very tough. Bob Livingston. Bob Livingston on the other side of the aisle did it proud. He did it right. I'll just say that no matter where I go and no matter how hard we work in our state, it's a time of opportunity for us. Louisiana will not be visited by most people from America. You'll know us only by our reputation. And I'm hoping that from Saturday night forth, you'll take another look. It's a good state and a great state. I want to ask you when bills come on the House floor that affect Louisiana. But anyway, I'll just close by saying that I'm skinny and I'm tired and I'm lucky. But I want to thank you for all your love and all your concern. I'll tell you how I won.
I put my heart on the table. I just put it right out on the line. And the people of Louisiana picked it up. We got a heck of a chance. Thanks.
Now, yesterday, Roemer met with the Louisiana congressional delegation in Washington, something he says as governor he hopes to do on a regular basis. The governor-elect plans to meet with Edwards sometime next week.
In last Saturday's election, Buddy Roemer carried 37 of the state's 64 parishes.
Taking a quick look now at other statewide contests. Agriculture Commissioner Bob Odom was elected to another term. Elections Commissioner Jerry Fowler was overwhelmingly reelected. And Doug Green unseated incumbent Sherman Bernard in the Insurance Commissioner's race. There was to have been a runoff between Mary Landrieu and Kevin Riley in the race for state treasurer, but Riley conceded the race this week. Rumor has it that he is being considered for a position in the Roemer administration. Other runoffs pit incumbent Bobby Freeman against Paul Hardy in the lieutenant governor's race, and State Representative Fox McKithen against Mike Cutshaw in the race for Secretary of State.
1/4 of the 1988 Louisiana legislature will be rookies. 9 new senators and 24 new representatives.
Well, that's our program for this week. Thanks for watching. Next week, we'll continue following the Roemer transition team as the governor-elect prepares to take office. Be sure to check it out. Until then, have a good weekend. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Funding for the production of Louisiana, the State We're In, is provided in part by the Ziegler Foundation of Jennings and Gulf States Utilities, helping Louisiana bridge the gap to our energy future.